At the peak, this North Scottsdale home was valued at over $1 million. Tomorrow, it's on the auction block after sitting on the market for months. The starting bid, $329,000.
S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index showed a decrease of 18.7%. The co-creator of the index says this decline may continue for some time.
This time next year, I think housing will be on a positive trajectory, and of course, that's a big plus for the economy.
Mixed bag on the real estate front today, with housing starts falling to their lowest level since 2009 for December, while building permits.
Well, the areas that are going to be more depressed for longer would include the areas that have been hit hard with foreclosures, the obvious areas like Florida, Arizona, Nevada.
We have to look to really kind of read the tea leaves as to where the housing market is headed.
Good afternoon, Arizona. My name is Steve Rundle, Dwellings Realty Group.
Sean Ybarra with Praxis Credit Consulting.
Sean, how you doing?
Doing great.
Good. We're usually joined by our partner, Andy Schmidt, with the lending company.
I think it's too hot for him.
It is too hot for him. He went north on us.
Left us holding the bag.
Right,
Okay.
he migrated. So, but I talked to him yesterday. He said it was 100 degrees up there. So
it's not too bad.
So it's not too bad. That's right.
I don't feel too bad for him then.
Yeah, I don't either.
If it was only 70 degrees or
Right.
75 and cooling off down to 50s in the evening, then I'd be jealous. But
Yeah. And so 100 degrees. Yeah, you can sweat a little bit on up there on that.
Exactly. All right. So after yesterday's show, we got tons of questions coming in on that.
Excellent.
It kind of lots more about the short sale portion, but we're going to start with this question here.
Okay.
Is it true having items disputed on my credit report can affect me being approved for a loan?
Great question.
The answer to this question is yes, they can.
Absolutely, it can.
And what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about the disputing process, because we kind of ended the show yesterday on the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Yep.
And how long it takes and kind of what's happening there. So I wanted to come back and kind of fill in the gaps on that
Sure.
part. Typically, as you do a dispute, it's going to take 30 to 45 days to get these responses back.
Okay.
Now,
and that's from the initial dispute.
From the initial dispute, once the challenge letter or the dispute letter or whatever documentation you're sending to the bureau, and you are sending it to the credit bureaus, not the creditor themselves. Those are different laws. We're actually going to the bureau right now.
And correct me if I'm wrong. It's not just one letter that goes out. You're sending them to each individual bureaus, and I'm assuming the big three.
There's three bureaus
that make up the FICO scores. Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
I guess not FICOs, but they all have.
Well,
their
FICO is
scoring.
one of the types of scoring.
Right.
There's three different types, but.
Right.
I'm not going to bore you with all the different types there, but I mean, we're not going to get real technical about credit repair.
Okay.
But basically, the general scenario here is that the dispute letter goes out by law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. They're going to have 30 days to have a written response.
Okay. Now, 30 days, and I know we get tied up on time frames because when a bank tells me on a short sale 30 days, but you still have the time to send the letter. Gets there, they probably timestamp it, and then 30 days from that date, or 30 days from the date that you actually send it.
From the time that we send it to the time that they get it back is 30 days.
Okay.
Now that's a federal law. That's not just, let's just blow this one off like the banks do.
Sure. This
is something that they are regulated by.
And I'm mentioning it because it's something that they need to take seriously.
Absolutely.
These time frames, 30 days. Hey, if you haven't responded, it's pretty serious.
Now, they can file a 15-day extension on that, to where what that'll do is it'll allow people or the creditor to do a little more homework or research or whatever to make sure that whatever they're reporting is 100% accurate.
Right.
And that's why they would file the extension.
Okay.
So that'd give you up to 45 days. So our time frames on how long those disputes would be on there would be 30 to 45 days, that they're going to report back either monthly or quarterly on the reporting for the bureaus.
Right.
That's when your credit report is updated that often.
Monthly or quarterly.
Correct.
Okay.
And you can see this if you have a copy of your credit report. It says last date of activity.
Okay.
And so that'll tell you whether or not they're reporting it monthly or quarterly.
Gotcha.
On that.
Gotcha. So it's an easy way to determine when that, let's say you missed a 30-day and you're like, oh, I must have missed it, or they didn't report it. But
really, all the credit bureaus will actually show and designate 30-day, 60-day, 90-day,
right,
then 120 plus.
Right.
and they start counting those right away.
Gotcha.
I mean, it looks like Chinese, but when you kind of start breaking it down, it really kind of is pretty simple system.
Everybody has their own report, and it's all a little bit different.
But they've all the exact same information.
Right.
So and you just have to kind of go, okay, here's this, and I'm looking for this, and I'm looking for that. The last date of activity, 30 days.
Yep.
How much do I owe, and what's my payment?
Yep, absolutely.
And those are really the key things that you need to look at.
The red flags.
Now, the other thing that's going to be on there is that whenever you do dispute this line,
okay,
this is relatively new in the last, I'm going to say 9 to 12 months.
Oh.
They've been putting on a descriptor saying this line is in dispute by consumer.
Right.
Now, that's where the question comes back into play. Most lenders right now, and I wish Andy was here to go over this, because in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they were not able to insure those loans right now with those items in place because
with
there is
something being actively disputed.
Correct. There's questions there. There's scenarios there, and with the housing market and the lending market the way that it is,
right,
they don't want to take the risk on that.
Sure.
Because it's a government-backed loan,
right,
through Fannie Mae, and they don't want to take the risk.
So if someone has a dispute in progress, that's going to turn up on their credit report.
Correct.
And so it's not just you're disputing a loan. It could be any dispute that you have, correct?
Correct. It could be anything. Correct.
That they say, hey, look, it could be the $15 pizza charge you did. You messed up and you didn't pay the guy,
and they put it on your credit report.
And then now you're disputing it because it really wasn't you. It was your buddy who was,
Or, I mean, it could be a number of different things. It could be Cox Communication. You didn't return the box. So they put it on your credit report. You go, oh, you know what? I'm in the process of moving. You take the box. You take it back to the local Cox store.
Right.
Take it there. They resolve everything.
Right. But then they never take it off.
But they didn't take it off your credit report. So now you're in dispute. So now they have that 30 to 45 day window.
Right.
To check to make sure that it's there.
And in that case, something like that happens. Is it that you just contact the credit bureaus, or are you contacting Cox as well and saying, hey, look?
Well, there's a combination of both that you have to do. Well, number one, you have to identify and verify the debt to see if it's actually valid.
Right.
Because that's the first problem is there's a lot of debt out there that's not valid.
Right.
Where people paid already.
Right. It's just still getting reported.
And it's just still getting reported every month because it's kind of fallen through the cracks.
Yep.
And it's in a report that gets sent over, that gets updated, and then it just gets updated as often as they update their reporting.
So if it's continually getting updated, and I think our statute of limitations is what, 6 years, 7 years for stuff to fall off the credit report?
It is 7 years.
Is it 7?
It's good. You've been listening.
I told you I had that book.
Now, but here's a trick question. When does that 7 years start?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you, because does it start from the day it gets paid off, or does it start from the last activity?
The last activity.
So or something that's getting continuously reported then will never fall off.
No.
And you may not know because you haven't checked your credit.
Exactly. Your 7 years counting is continually being 7 years.
Because it looks like there's activity on the account, which would then give someone the idea that this is still an active account that's being used because it's getting reported. And those are the types of things that are important to check out because they're going to affect you later down the line when it comes to lending.
Okay, here's one that's even worse.
Okay.
And we see this a lot now too. Let's say that they haven't. It stayed dormant for, let's say, 6 years.
Okay.
They go to buy a mortgage or buy a house.
Right.
The mortgage company pulls it. It automatically triggers a red flag saying, hey, guess what? This person's trying to buy.
Right.
So this company can come back
I'm already seeing
and reactivate that line as a new activated or recently activated trade line. It's a negative line.
Right.
But you've already waited 6 years.
But why would hold on, now I'm lost because
a broken system.
Why would and you're saying this is an account that was paid off?
It's paid off.
It was paid off.
Let's say they still owe it.
Okay, still owe it. And it's been dormant for 6 years.
Correct.
So they haven't made a payment on it for 6 years.
Hadn't touched it. Hadn't the customer or the creditor hasn't tried to get it. The letter stopped. All the everything stopped.
Okay, so it's just something on their report that they didn't pay.
Just laying dormant.
And just sitting there.
Just waiting.
But because another creditor now has an inquiry, that
a lender has, because now they're trying to buy something.
Right.
So now they must have money.
Right.
Is their thinking.
Gotcha.
So it triggers their
gotcha.
reminder.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden they have to pay this before they can get that.
Got it.
And that's why you see these loan officers and lenders when they're going through, where'd this come from?
Yep.
I didn't see this to begin with.
All of a sudden, you're right. All of a sudden now, you're looking for a house. You do the right thing. You go to the lender first. They get you all pre-approved and pre-qualified, and then you're out looking at houses. And then 60 days later, when you're ready to, go through the process of start getting financing in place.
And I'm sure you've had deals that have happened like this.
Boom! All of a sudden, something pops
up. It's a simple collection. Maybe it's $15. Maybe it's the pizza guy.
Yep.
Maybe it was your old lease or something. Who knows what it could be? Because there's any number of different things that it could be.
Well, and it's frustrating.
It could be a library book.
Well, that's it. I mean, it could be something so minute that it's frustrating because now it's stalling the process. And a lot of times
it could be costing you money.
Well, a lot of times what clients think is that, it's Andy's fault because he pulled my credit,
right.
or it's your fault because you said to go get pre-qualified. And now that popped up. Well, we didn't know it was there. That it was.
And we deal with this on a regular. I mean, like I have a client that I was talking to just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to close on his house on the 29th. Maybe it's the 18th of July.
Right.
And so he's going through this whole process. He just wanted to increase his score because he wanted a lower interest rate.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Which sounds good.
Yeah, when you talk about 30-year fixed loan over the course and you can get it reduced the quarter, half point, it's a lot of dough.
Right. Somewhere along the lines, the whole 35 to 45 day thing was miscommunicated or wasn't heard. One or the other. I don't really know. Bottom line is, we're scrambling now to get everything unreported and out of dispute so that he can close on his house on time. And this was all in just to raise the score another 40 points so that he could get an even lower rate. He already qualified for the loan.
The moral of that story is start way in advance.
Exactly.
Before you go. And as always, get pre-qualified, but do it way in advance. Don't do it the day that you fall in love with your home. We're going to talk more about this issue when we come back and answer some more questions from the week. But give us a call, 602-999-1912. Again, that's 602-999-1912. If you have a question about credit, real estate, lending, eventually Andy will be back from North, but we'll see. Maybe we'll fall in love with
Maybe he'll have a beard.
Yeah. We'll see in a few.